Welcome to Exploring Task 3, Assessment of Students' Learning. The purpose of this video is to familiarize you with the assessment task of the Elementary Literacy edTPA Handbook. The purpose of Task 3 is for you to show how you can analyze evidence of students' learning, provide students with feedback as to how they are performing in relationship to the objectives, and respond with appropriate instruction and support. The process I am about to walk you through is found outlined on page 7 of your Elementary Literacy edTPA Handbook and is described in even further detail on pages 28 through 30. After watching this video, I highly recommend that you read those sections carefully to further your understanding of the expectations of this task. Your first step is to choose an assessment. In Task 3, you choose one assessment and analyze the evidence of students' learning on that one assessment. In order to set yourself up to do well on Task 3, you need to make sure that your chosen assessment evaluates students' use of the essential literacy strategy and related skills. In addition to this, we highly recommend that you choose a formative assessment that will allow you to give the students feedback and gives the students opportunities to use the feedback to further their learning towards the objectives. We also recommend that you choose an assessment that shows students' use of the academic language you discussed in your response to the academic language prompt in your planning commentary. Once you have chosen your Task 3 assessment, you will need to develop evaluation criteria to determine how you will measure students' progress towards the mastery of the objectives. For many of you, these evaluation criteria will take the form of a rubric, in which you will denote what is evidence of mastery of an objective, evidence of proficiency in an objective, and so on. Your evaluation criteria need to be clearly aligned with the learning objectives the assessment is designed to measure. You will use these evaluation criteria to evaluate all of the students' learning in terms of the objectives. You will need to analyze the learning for the whole class on the chosen assessment based on the evaluation criteria you designed. This analysis is supposed to be both quantitative and qualitative. This analysis and summary is the basis of your response to prompt 1C on your assessment commentary and will be evaluated by rubric 11. Be sure to reference that rubric when you write your response to assessment commentary 1C. For the Elementary Literacy Handbook, you will select 3 students to be your focus students. While you will analyze learning for the whole class, you will use these students as specific examples throughout your assessment commentary. As such, you need to select 3 students of different levels of development, and among those 3 students, at least one needs to have an identified learning need. If you do not have any students in your class with an IEP or 504, select a student with a learning need as identified in your Context for Learning under the Students with Other Learning Needs section. You will need to summarize the learning for the whole class demonstrating the performance on your selected Task 3 assessment and based on the evaluation criteria. This summary of the whole class learning should be displayed as a table or graph in Assessment Commentary Prompt 1B. As described earlier, you will analyze this whole class learning and identify the patterns you see using the focus student work samples as examples of these patterns. This analysis will be written as your response to Assessment Commentary Prompt 1C and will be evaluated by Rubric 11. You will be asked to submit the feedback you gave the focus students on the Task 3 assessment. As you can see, you can provide this feedback in written, audio, or video form, whichever is most appropriate for your students and circumstances in your classroom. This feedback will be the basis of your responses to prompts 2B and 2C on your assessment commentary and is evaluated by rubrics 12 and 13. You will also need to analyze students' use of academic language, which is why we recommend you choose a Task 3 assessment where students are required to use or attempt to use the academic language you identified for the academic language prompt in your planning commentary. If this evidence is not on the work samples of your focus students, you will need to provide an additional video clip showing evidence of students' academic language use or identify where this can be seen in your Task 2 video clips. You will discuss this evidence in Assessment Commentary Prompt 3A and will be evaluated by Rubric 14. Finally, based on the analysis you did of the students' learning, you will identify your next steps for instruction and support these steps with research or theory. In doing this, you will answer Prompt 4 on the assessment commentary, which will be evaluated by Rubric 15. For Task 3, you will submit a work sample for each focus student. This work sample may be in written, audio, or video format. Make sure that the work sample is from the assessment you have chosen to focus on for Task 3. You will also need to submit evidence of feedback you gave the focus students. If that is on the work samples, you do not need to submit additional files. If not, you will need to submit an additional feedback file for each focus student. The same is true for the evidence of academic language use. If this is already on a file being submitted, you do not need to submit additional evidence. If it isn't, you need to submit an additional video providing evidence of students' academic language use. Finally, you need to submit a completed assessment commentary and the evaluation criteria you designed for your chosen Task 3 assessment. Further details about the Task 3 assessment requirements can be found in your edTPA handbook in the evidence chart on pages 42 through 44. In summary, here are the keys to success on Task 3. You want to choose a formative assessment for which you have designed clear evaluation criteria based on the objective you are trying to measure. You will use these evaluation criteria as the basis of your analysis of the student's learning. You will need to show how you provided feedback to the students and how you will help the students use that feedback to further their learning. You will need to show students' use of academic language, and finally, you need to talk about your next steps for instruction based on your analysis of the student's learning and support those choices with research or theory. I have included the rubrics that correspond with each of those items so you can see how your evidence will be evaluated. In addition to this video, you have a plethora of resources available to you as you complete your edTPA Task 3. Please make sure to take advantage of these resources as you complete your portfolio. I hope you have found this video to be helpful, and I wish you the best of luck as you complete your edTPA assessment.